Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam Aviravirma edihi Vedasyama ani sthaha Shrutam me ma prahasi Anena dhitena Horatran samdadhami Ritam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatuma Avatu Vaktaram Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Vladimir, can you explain the meaning of this invocation, please?
Yes, Vang me manasi pratishtita. My speech is established in my mind. Mano me vachi pratishtitam. My mind is established in my speech. Actually, it's a wake-up call, if you will. So if you're kind of spread somewhere in the mind or God knows where in the feelings, yeah. So to come back to your two foundations. These are two foundations, yeah, of the Veda of knowledge, mind and speech. And then be revealed to me, be revealed to me. Be revealed to me, most probably speech, be revealed to me, O mind. You are two foundations of the Veda. May that which was revealed to me, or literally, don't leave me that which was revealed to me, kind of directly. Don't go away, because it's so easy to lose every inspiration or knowledge we receive from the Vedas. We go back to our ordinary life, and then where is all that that beautiful luminous presence? Yeah? So anena dhitena horatran samdadhami. By that I connect or collect, literally, like the pearls on the thread. I collect days and nights. By that which was revealed to me, I gathered days and nights, interesting nights for your course. So we do not have that interruption overnight. So through the nights we hold on to the knowledge. Yeah? Ritam vadishyami, I shall speak the truth. Satyam vadishyami, I shall speak the truth. Now, the two different truths, we spoke about this. In the Veda, there is dynamic truth, the truth of becoming, ritam, and static truth, satyam, that which is. Yes? Whatever is the truth, and whatever becomes is the truth. And they actually constantly mention these two together. Otherwise, it is like saying the same thing twice. In the post-Vedic literature, they are not distinguished anymore. Ritam and Satyam means the same thing, truth. But in the Vedic, they are very different. The truth of becoming, it is something which is not yet here, but which wants to be. Whereas truth of Satyam is that which is always there, transcendental truth. Sat. Um, Ritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmam avatu. May that fulfill me, literally, fill me from within. It is translated usually as protect me. Protect means fill me till that there is no gap within me. Grow within me. May that grow within me, that truth. Yeah? Tadvaktaram avatu. May that fill the speaker of the truth, or the one who expresses the truth. That is me now. Yeah? I will be expressing, I shall speak the truth. That means speak is an interesting word. I shall express through my consciousness the truth. Dynamic, what wants to be, and static, what is there already. And may that fulfill me, fill me, protect me. Protect me, protect the speaker. This is the mantra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and as you notice, there is no gods, there is no religion. It's a totally psychological mantra.
Mhm.
All right, so here we are. Let me open the hymn. I opened several of them. Let us finish with number 13. There are only two shlokas left, two Gayatris, which is kind of... Here it is. We stopped here. Avasrija vanaspate deva devebhiyo havih pradatuh astu chetanam. I have changed already. Okay. Avasrija vanaspate deva, O God, O Vanaspati. Vanaspati is usually Soma, or the Lord of Soma, literally, or the Lord of the delight. In the later literature, it is Vishnu, the Lord of the delight. O Lord of the delight, O God, for the gods release the offering. And pra astu, may there be forward the consciousness of the giver. This is something interesting to literally, I'm translating literally. May there be forward the consciousness of the giver. Here, in my interpretation, O luminous God, made the true consciousness of the giver come forward. So I found the way around it just to make it more meaningful. But if you translate even literally, the consciousness of the giver, the one who, Yajamana, who wants to prolong the divine existence and grow in the divine consciousness, may that be forward. That means not only now, but also tomorrow, day after tomorrow. It should move forward. Yeah? It should not be the event of today only. It should be the event which is projected in time forward. This word pra, you see, this is the prefix. And in Vedic Sanskrit, prefixes are used uniquely, separately from the words, separately from the verbs and from the nouns. So it's as independent word, and it has its independent stress accent, you see, pra. It has udatta. Pra astu chetanam. May there be forward. Astu, may there be. Forward the consciousness of the giver. Quite interesting. And then the last verse. Svaha yajñam kranotana indraya yajvano grehe tatra devan upahvaye. Let me put it on one page. Perform the fire, sacrifice to Indra, Krinotana. Perform Svaha Yajñam Krinotana. Krinotana can be translated only as you, yeah? You perform. Perform the fire sacrifice. Perform the sacrifice to Indra, exclaiming Svaha. Svaha Yajñam Kranotana Indraya Yajvanach Grihe, in the house of the sacrificer, in the body of Yajamana. Tatra devano pahavaye. There I invoke, call the gods. There means into this house of the Yajamana, into our body. It's quite interesting to note here that if you examine, if you look at the whole literature from the Vedic times till later times, you will see the shift of approach to spirituality. In the Vedas, you are the house of the sacrifice, the body. In the body, there is Yajamana who invokes the gods. And this was the only way of doing the religion, so to say. You invoke the divine powers within you, you kindle the flame within you who brings the divine powers within you, and they act and change your consciousness. And by changing yourself, they change everything around you. And the next step later, it became more like Svadhyaya. Svadhyaya, so you start reading the text, and by reading the text, you invoke the gods. The gods, as Sayana says, are born with mantras, and they are born within your consciousness, and they ignite within you new consciousness. And the next stage was ritualistic. Rituals came into being, and they were helping man, priests, or those yajamanas, to maintain their concentration through outer means, kindling the fire, making the oblation of Ghrita physically. Physical fire, physical Ghrita, physical place, physical time, in accordance with nakshatras and grahas and auspicious time according to Jyotisha. The whole Jyotisha comes up with this ritualistic purpose, yes, to find the proper time for the sacrifice. And these outer means where the whole Kalpa Vedanga comes into being, the whole Vedis are built. There are Vedis which are built over the period of 12 months, brick by brick, 10,000 bricks. Each brick has a mantra. Can you imagine? The whole year they build the Vedi just to build one. So what kind of concentration of consciousness it requires? So it helps to hold, the physical means helps to hold the inner concentration. And then it's interesting, then there is one more stage comes into being, temples. First were Vedis, then temples. Now temples are everywhere in India, but they are of a recent time. This is what I want to say. So that very thing, that body in which the sacrifice was made, now is in the form of the temple. A temple is the embodiment of Purusha, and you know that it is exactly that in the form of Purusha, in the form of man, yes? It's amazing to think of that from the inner to the outer, yes? Yes, Kinship, sorry.
Yeah, just a question. Where would you place the time of Brahmanas in this chronology?
Ritualistic rituals were made, yes.
Okay, okay,
Sri
thanks.
Aurobindo speaks about this. Yes, he says
Okay,
about this that it was the most intense period of ritualism. Yes,
okay, thanks.
because
Just wanted.
yeah, that was the attempt to come back to the Vedas, but there was no way because there was a gap between Samhita period and Brahmanas. Big gap, actually, a few thousand years. So it
Okay,
was a first attempt to revive the knowledge of the Vedic rishis. And all the stories, myths, mythology comes very intensely in that time, and ritualism. All the Taittiriya Brahmana, Aitareya Brahmana, these are the these are the assignments to the rituals of particular mantras. Mantras are fixed with the outer rituals, finally.
Okay, thanks.
Also, now the whole trend has shifted back again from temples to within oneself.
Right. This is interesting. With integral yoga, especially with Sri Aurobindo, and not only with Sri Aurobindo, with Ramakrishna, with Vivekananda, with other great, sages and rishis of India, especially in 20th century, there were many of them, Tilak, Gandhi. They all came and they were all looking for inner knowledge, for realization of the inner knowledge. So those temples became less important. Though people still go there because it's a major trend. Major trend. All
For
right.
Radhanesh, so temple,
Yes, Paritu.
so the temple in Purusha, then the Prakriti is through us. When we go to temple, we just sort of connect to Purusha, and then Prakriti is us in that sense. Who, I don't know.
No, I would not speak Purusha Prakriti in that sense for the temple. Temple is just the embodiment of that what we want to find, and you can find it in the temple. You can find it in yourself. You can find it anywhere if you can find it. Yeah, and if you can't, then going to the temple will help very little, or let us say could help, but not necessarily. No? As we know, going to the church doesn't make you very
It's like
spiritual.
knowing that language.
Yeah, people think that they pay, tribute to the gods and then they can continue to be what they are. That's unfortunately the case. They go there in a particular day, like they go to the church, for example. On every Sunday they go to the church, and then the whole week they do whatever they do, and then they gain. But it is reminding them of some higher value, which is already good. Yeah. Even confessions. Sri Aurobindo makes fun of the confessions, that you go to confess of your sins and then you're free to sin again. So every time you come to confess, you go again with a fresh start to sin. It feels fresh again, juicy, every sin. It's not that old sin anymore. So
Even bathing in the Ganges. People go and take a bath on certain days and they say we washed away our sins. And then they come and restart.
yeah, fresh start, newborn, yes. Again, everything feels new and like reborn. Yeah, this is what we do, we human beings. Well, and especially the fun he makes about the final confession, when the person all his life he was a sinner, and at the end priest comes to him and he tells him all his sins and he's free to go to heaven. This would never happen, he says, because the trend of the being was established during lifetime. It's a habit. Yeah? So confess or no confess, it will not change a thing. Or maybe little, but not much. Okay, we are jumping into the hymn 14 again of Kanva. It's a very simple hymn, so there will be no much of pondering about. Medhati Kanva. Let us read it. Eibhich Agni Dvogiro, Vishvebhich Soma Pita Ye Devebhich Yahi Yakshicha. Again, Gayatri. With all these gods, O Agni, thou who art the activity of speech, arrive and do thy work. Notice this identification of Agni with the word, also with aspiration. Aspiration is the prayer of the heart. Yeah? It is that word which is rising from the depth of our being framed by mantra or the word and becomes a prayer. My interpretation, O Agni, you are the one who is constantly aspiring, stirring in the darkness with the call of your heavenly voice, and invoking the gods to come down, come here with all these heavenly luminous beings to drink the delight of existence and thus do your work, the sacrifice.
Vladimir, we can't see the mantra.
Oh, so sorry. I shifted without repositioning. Here it is. Ebhich agne duvogiro vishvebhich soma pitaye. Devebhich yahi yakshicha. Literally, ebhich, with these towards us. O Agni, Agni. Duvach girach, of the voice duvach. We will come to this word in a minute. Duvach is the action or the burning, with the burning or shining or flaming of the voice. Vishvebhich, with all the gods, devebhich, vishvebhich, devebhich. Soma pitaye, to drink soma. Yahi, Yahi. Notice is in the first position, Yahi is here. Come to us, Yakshicha, and sacrifice. That is the literal translation. Sri Aurobindo translates Duvo Girach as with thy activities of speech, thou who art the activity of speech. Interesting. So you are the activity of speech. Duvach, the flaming of the word, of the voice. Flaming of the voice. Flaming of the call. That's why he is Hotar. It is very close to the idea of aspiration in the heart. Because that flame, this is the prayer in the heart, which calls the divine powers, and they answer to this prayer. And come with all of them, that means come and fetch them and bring them here, come with them, with Vishvebhich Devebhich, with all the gods, or with universal divine powers. Vishvedevas, yes, Vishvedevas is the class of gods who are participating in the universal sacrifice. Actually, all gods can be Vishvedevas when they take that role to sacrifice for the universe. Note, it's my note, here we have a definition of sacrifice from the point of view of the gods, luminous powers of the divine, who are not involved in the evolutionary process of growth of consciousness from within, the inconscience, as Agni is, but are free from changes and growth. They are defined by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother as typal beings who do not progress. And if they want to change or to partake in a change, they have to come down to the earthly consciousness into a human body and participate in the earthly evolutionary events. Their participation is elevating and illumining the earthly mind and life, opening them to the higher realms of consciousness. But for themselves, they get the delight, soma, of the divine manifestation through the psychic presence of Agni, who has prepared and purified the offering we make to the divine, which thus becomes a pure delight. And that is the sacrifice. So they bring the delight with them from above, and they get the delight for themselves from below. This is something difficult to immediately comprehend. They are attracted to the delight which we generate here in time and space. This is the most precious food for them, for some reason. And I think, I was thinking why it should be so attractive for them, because they have so much delight in their own typal worlds. They live in the delight. Why that delight in time and space is so attractive for them? What do you think? Why?
Is it because the delight here has the divine presence in it?
Yeah, also, yes, some kind of, right, there is a purpose, the meaning, but for themselves, they are attracted to taste that delight. Yeah.
Because of variations in time, because there is a time thing involved here. It is in the
Right.
process of
It's a unique delight. This delight will never be repeated again. It's a well-known thing, actually. It's in the literature. You can find it, the explanation of this. Even in Greek literature, Achilles says to that girl, you remember that princess which he kind of became friends with, and he tells her that this delight, gods envy us, he says. Envy us because this moment will never repeat itself again. This moment is only once, and this delight is totally unique. So in a way, they're attracted to the uniqueness. And I think it is not enough. The explanation is not enough. There is something more. There is a uniqueness of the Purushottama presence through the psychic. The Supreme is present here in this moment, which is always unique, never typal. Yeah? And through the psychic, through this generation of soma, of interaction of our soul with the world, this delight is being generated, soma is being generated and distilled and purified and offered to these powers because they want to taste that. And by tasting it, they are becoming they are growing in consciousness. They receive some additional, not only ananda, but capacity to change. They cannot change by themselves, only through the sacrifice. Grow in consciousness and become even as supreme, as it is said in the Veda elsewhere, that Mitra and Varuna, they come to the sacrifice, and by going through the sacrifice, they rise to the seat of the Supreme. They cannot rise to the seat of the Supreme without, from which they will see both Aditi and Diti. This is important. And this is the vision of Purushottama. Purushottama sees this world and the transcendental world simultaneously. And that is something which is attracting them. That's why they are drawn to the sacrifice. That's why they answer to the call of Agni. There's something very attracting them. That's what I try to express here. But in themselves, they are typal beings. You remember when the mother gave her psychic being to Durga. There is a description in agenda. Durga was coming many times to the mother, very powerful, yes, in appearance. And one day she gave her to try how it feels to have a soul, a human soul. Because the gods do not have this. They think that they are the divine. They have this divine arrogance, as it were. Yeah? They don't think in terms that they are incapable or something. They are charged with this power of the divine. And then Mother gave her to try. And when she tried, put on, mother's soul onto herself, she felt for the first time love for the divine. They don't have love for the divine. They feel they are the divine. Yeah? They don't love. And then she felt that love, which and she said, from now on, I am the bhakta of the divine. From now on, Durga became bhakta of the divine because she never had that love. So this is the difference between the typal beings and us having the soul loving the divine. This is a fundamental difference. Maybe they are attracted to this, yeah, to this love which they don't have. They have bliss, they have peace, they have power, they have knowledge, they have everything. But that love, bhakti, that's a sweetness. That is the sweetness. That is the soma, what they want. Okay. I became happy with this idea. I'm speaking to myself and becoming happy with myself. Funny.
This is so motivating, Pradhan. It's like once we get in touch with one of the deities, then they can always come back to us.
I didn't hear the beginning, but with the deities, there is a problem. When we become dependent on the gods. By the way, Sri Aurobindo has this explanation, beautiful. To be dependent on the gods is very tricky. First of all, they are typal beings. And second of all, they kind of share with us their powers, and you become very arrogant. Yeah? You become like magician. You can do things. You can read somebody's mind or manage something, what you desire, and you start mixing your desires into it. It is very, very tricky and very dangerous. Sharing powers with the gods, this is a tricky part. And Sri Aurobindo, in somewhere in aphorisms, he has this, or Indra, give me this, or you, Varuna, give me the vastness and purity, Mitra, give me the luminosity and harmony, and you, Mahakali, kind of cut all the dependence of me on these goddess. So this is interesting to think of. So he wants to share their capacities to get their powers of consciousness, but he does not want to stay dependent on them.
So if we have this relationship with Supreme, so in that we do not get to mix powers, then it's like a
No,
direct contact. So
right.
then we
And
won't
that
be
is
making
your
mistakes.
psychic being, basically. This is the way to the Supreme psychic being, this Yajamana within you. In the Veda, everything is totally properly balanced in a way. There is no disbalance. Yajamana is first, Agni is first. It has to be kindled. He has to bring the gods. They are working with him, with the soul. Soul is first. Yeah? Soul makes arrangements, not the gods. Gods do not dominate. They
So
are
can it,
subordinate to Agni. Yeah?
so if Agni, the soul connects to the God, and then God connects it to the divine, can it work like this? No.
I just don't know what you're asking, truly speaking. Yes, it's all one big vision. Yeah, we are here to grow in consciousness, and to grow in consciousness, we need the capacities of the gods. But we don't want our ego to be dependent on the gods and have egoistic relations with them, because then we become something else. We want the soul relations with these powers. So the soul has to be first. And if it is not there, it becomes tricky. That's what I wanted to say. Tricky because it's not Yajamana who is calling for these powers. And some of them may answer to the call of vital and mental being, and then you become dependent on them because you create in yourself this sense of your superiority and capacity that you're a chosen instrument. To be a chosen instrument is a very tricky proposition for the spiritual path. I want to be your instrument. It's a very dubious thing, huh? Because then the arrogance grows. I think the right balance is in the Veda. Truly speaking, I don't have any problem with what they are doing. So here, Indrava yu brahaspatim mitragnim pushanam bhagam adityan marutam ganam, all of them invoking or bringing Agni. On Indra and Vayu, Brihaspati, Mitra, Agni, Pushan, Bhaga, Aditya, and Marut host, Ganam of Maruts, of all of them. Pravo Bhriyanta, Indavo, Matsaramada Ishnavach, Drapsamadvach, Chamushadach, these drops of honey or soma which we generate as Yajamana here in interaction with the world. Pravach Bhriyanta Indavach. Indavach, these drops of honey. For your nectar streams are filled in, rapturous and maddening, dripping sweetness into their vessel, they settle down. Into the vessel of the gods, they settle down. For these are your luminous streams of honey, maddening and filling with ecstasy. The offerer, dripping with sweetness. I don't know where these misprints are coming from, truly speaking. Settled in him as the sacrificial vessel. Note, it is quite interesting to note here that the streams of honey are pouring down from the gods abiding above, filling the adhara, the vessel of the sacrifice, and the honey is also sprinkled by Agni from below. Emano yujo, bound to manas, anointing the offering of Yajamana. It is like sweetness meets the sweetness, or honey from below, as the honey wave from the heart of Vamadeva, as you remember this beautiful hymn of Vamadeva, tastes the honey from above, as it were. We had in the previous verse, Madhumantam tanuna patiyajñam deveshonach kave adya karinu hivitaya, O son of the body, now make the sacrifice honeyed for the gods, for their enjoyment. So this kind of honey tasting honey is again another difficult proposition for our mind, which wants always to distinguish, between the actor and then between the subject and object. And here the subject and object are overlapping. Somewhere Shiv Binder describes how the supramental works. He has this aphorism of the drop. Can you imagine the drop of honey tasting all drops of honey and all the drops of honey tasting this drop? This is the supramental delight. We don't have the language to describe this. So we offer the delight of this unique existence, of this supreme experience of Yajamana to the gods, which are attracted to him, because through that they will rise to the throne from which they will see Aditya and Deity working together. that supreme vision of the Purushottama, of the Supreme. And at the same time, when they come, they bring a lot of delight. Yeah, their own delight, because they live in delight. But that delight is not our unique creation. Yeah? It is the bliss in which they have. And we also taste that bliss. So we are exchanging the bliss, as it were. We are giving our bliss to them, and they give their bliss to us. And we need their bliss. It's for us food to grow. We need those capacities for our soul, for our psychic being to get. We want to increase the capacity. And they have that capacity which we need. That's the feeding each other. As somewhere in the Gita, Sri Aurobindo says, or kind of Sri Krishna says on that yajnam, you remember, so I created this world with praja and yajnam, and by that yajna, you both, gods and man, support each other and grow to the highest good. You remember the verse? It's in chapter 3. I don't want to misquote. Saha yajñah prajah srishtva purovacha prajapatih anena prasavishyadvam eshavo astu ishtakamadhuk. This will be the cow of desires, yeah? The sacrifice. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayanto vah parasparam bhavayantach shreyach param avapsyatha. You support with the sacrifice, with that honey which you get, the gods, and the gods will support you, feed you, and by this supporting each other, you will reach the highest good. This is the secret of the exchange with the gods. They bring their delight we need, and we give them our delight they need. They need something from us, we need something from them. In the highest spiritual sense, not only in the egoistic sense. It can fall into the egoistic trap. We already discussed this today. This is dangerous, yeah? When ego is fed by these powers, then it is something else. Ilate tvam avasyavach kanvaso vrikta barhishach havishmanto aramkritach. Thee the canvas protected adore. When they have manifested the flame, hold the offering and have set their array. O Agni, the Kanvarishis adore you, Ilate, seek with adoration. For they are protected by you, Avasyavach, spreading space within them, Vrikta Barhishach, preparing the seat of the sacrifice. This is Vrikta Barhishach. That you may invite and bring here the gods, Vrikta Barhishach still, to partake in the sacralization of the offering, to making sacrifice. They have for them that offering, they have for them making the sacrifice. So it's a little clumsy. It has to be rewritten in interpretation to make it more clear. I will go word by word. Ilate. They see Kanvasach. Kanvasach, the rishis of Kanva family. It's quite interesting that in the Rigveda they mention rishis in the families, like Kanvasach, all the Kanvas. Yes? So these are the families of the avatars, of the involutionary beings, as Mother says, who follow this tradition. They have already knowledge. Yes, these grandparents, grandsons, grand-grandsons, the whole lineage of Kanvas. So the Kanvas adore you or seek you with adoration, ilate tvam. Avasyavach. Avasyav is an interesting word. I don't have here. I opened the wrong file, I guess. Yeah, I opened the wrong file. I prepared another file. But I'll tell you anyhow. Avasyu, oh no, it is here.
Yeah.
Avasyu is the one, literally, if I translate it, is the one who is seeking the fulfillment, seeking the growth or filling from within by the divine presence, who wants to be totally fulfilled by the divine presence, desiring fulfillment or full occupation of the being. This is the avasyu. So the canvas seek you with adoration, desiring a total fulfillment, divine fulfillment. Vrikta barhishach, who vacate, who prepared the space for the gods within themselves, who cleaned up their inner spaces for the gods to come down. Havishmantach, carrying the havich, having the offering, aramkritach, and preparing or decorating the space for the event, literally. Here is the word aramkritach, preparing the sacrifice. Aram in classical Sanskrit will be alamkritach, yeah? Alankara from here. You know the word alankar, most probably. So this is from this, aramkritach. But it's not only decorating, it's not only preparing, making it totally ready, let us say. Making it absolutely ready, having the offering, vacating the space in themselves for the gods, desiring the fulfillment, they seek you with adoration. So I went backward. It is so profound, such simple ideas, but if you start translating them, you feel so much light and direct light. It is not some kind of pretension. It's not an explanation. It's not even a description. It's something which is much more direct, which tells us how it is when things are right, how we should be, how we are literally in our inner being. And then, Garita Prashtach, Mano Yujo, Yetva Vahanti Vahnayach, Adevan Soma Pita Ye. Shining of flank, yoked to the mind, the bearers that bear thee, and bear to us the gods to drink the Soma wine. The bearers that bear thee and bear to us the gods. Again, it's a kind of too much for the mind which is operating within this rationality or linear thinking. The carriers shining with gold of mental clarity, yoked to the mind, carrying you, O Agni, and the gods to drink Soma wine of ecstasy here. right. This is what is interesting here, Vahnayach. Vahanti Vahnayach, repetition, which is typical for the Vedic rishis because they love to repeat the same root twice, thrice, and have also resemblance of the same sound somewhere in some form. Yeah, Vahanti Vahnayach. It sounds to them very nice. Yeah? It is not nice for us, for people who think in this mental structure of consciousness, because we liked not to repeat the same word, but they love to repeat the same word because it re-emphasizes the same idea. So here vahati means carrying, flowing, streaming, blowing, all of these. Yeah, and Vahnayach are actually the flames currents. Here it is the bearers, he translates them, that bear thee. And who are these bearers? Vahni is also the name of Agni, actually. There are two names of Agni. Agni from root ajmos probably, or ag, to move forward, like aja, yes, driving forward. And Vahni, carrier of the oblation. So when he is in this position of taking the offering and carrying it to the gods, that delight to share with the gods, then he is Vahni. And it is mentioned many times in Agni hymns that he is Vahni. So these Vahnayach most probably are the flames of Agni, which carry him, Agni, and the gods carry the gods, these carriers of flames of Agni. Ghrita Prishtha, whose back is Ghrita, is with ghee. And ghee, Sri Aurobindo says that it is this shining with flank, or I'm translating from Sri Aurobindo from elsewhere, with gold of mental clarity. Gharitam is the symbol of the mental clarity already charged with spiritual consciousness. So when mentality is transformed by the spiritual presence, it becomes like ghee. By the way, dhyana, state of dhyana, is also compared to ghee, to gharitam. Yes, when we arrive in the Yoga Sutras to the dhyana level, from dharana to dhyana to samadhi, if you remember the Yoga Sutras, so dhyana is described as ghee. Why? Because ghee is luminous, uninterrupted attention. Yeah? It is like a butter full of heated butter. It is generated by heat, by the tapasya, by the focus of consciousness. It is heated and it is being transformed. The butter is being transformed into the quality which is eternal, which is, so it is compared to ghee. Quite interesting. Because dhyana is the concentration which does not require the force or attempt. It does not require the like dharana. Dharana you need to hold on to by yourself. In dhyana, it is becoming natural. So the attention and the concentration becomes natural, easy, without an effort. No effort is needed. If dharana requires effort, dhyana is effortless. It can stay as long as you want. And that is compared with ghee. Now I can finally kind of come to that, what I wanted to say. Ghee Grita is that mentality which does not require any more an effort because it has already the quality of spiritual presence. Yeah. It's a very important term in the Veda, Ghritam. It is by that the fire is growing. It is that which is made oblation into the fire in the temples nowadays. They are pouring ghee for the fire to grow. So that clarity of our mind, which is already transformed by spiritual presence, becomes a very good food for Agni to grow. And the flames carry you or Agni. Agni is like a divine will. And they carry the gods here, Devan here, they bring them Soma Pita here to drink of our delight, of our exchange of the delight. Okay, I will stop here for today. We covered 6 verses and we will finish next time. If you have some questions, please, or some observations, go ahead.
Uh, uh, Going to the Grita Prishta, Vladimir,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if shining flanks could refer to horses.
Also, yeah, very often, yes, horses are actually described exactly this, with a back full of garita. Shebinda also
Okay.
jokes about this in
Yes,
this.
I read about it. Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
you read it. Because these Indologists from the West, they translate it as horses, fat horses, or with kind of smeared with fat on the top. Yelizarenkova is constantly translating garita as fat. Such a bad word, fat. It's a clarified butter. It's so much better than fat. But for other cultures, fat is not so bad. They eat meat, and fat is for them is natural too.
Sorry.
Right. Could be horses.
I just had one more question referring to the earlier class, Vladimir,
Yeah.
where you had mentioned Ribhu, Bibhu, and Vaja. Vaja.
Yes.
Is there any other thing about these 3 divisions? One stands for this, the other stands for that. Is there any knowledge on that? I mean,
Unfortunately, we have this only from Sri Aurobindo, yes. Whatever he spoke on it, we can read. By the way, I will recommend to you to read that passage which I was trying to read last
yes,
time.
I have read it earlier, but I'll read it again. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I just
because
wanted, what do these 3 brothers do, for example? Any
they are mentioned always in this together. That's why we do not really separate them. They are
Okay.
3 of them, either Ribhus, or they are Vajas, or they are Vibhus. Yeah. So
Okay.
mentioned either Vibhus or Vajas. So somehow they don't want to. It's Rigveda is not an explanation. If it would be explanation, it would be easy. Yeah? We would kind of read what they do and so on. They are not doing this kind of philosophy. They are dealing with reality, spiritual reality, invoking those powers, knowing what they are already. Yeah? So we can gather only from what we can from the Rigveda, so to say, and maybe
Okay.
by some mysterious way of inspiration or something opening. When the hymn is ready to open to you, then you will see something. Why
Okay.
Vajas? Why plenitude is the last sun? I think I understand somehow intuitively, yes. But again, it is your impression, my impression. It's not something written there, which I could read.
Thank you,
Vladimir,
Vladimir. Thank you.
Vladimir, last time I think you mentioned about shaping, pervading, and plenitude.
Yes.
Something on that? and that
Yes,
gave a beautiful
absolutely.
image.
Shaping, pervading, and plenitude. You could see that plenitude will come only with the supramental manifestation, yes? Pervasiveness will be of that, of the overmental realm, and when there will be the spiritual transformation, when it will include all the worlds into itself. And shaping is very much required to build up the form, the format into which it will all pour in.
Actually,
So
this
we
is
will.
exactly what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Okay, okay.
I was looking for these three words. I forgot to note them last time. Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah, but this is again, this is an intuition we gather. Yeah? From the names, from the Sanskrit, and from what Sri Aurobindo says, and from the Veda when it opens up to us. We could lay out that Sri Aurobindo's knowledge together with Vedic knowledge and kind of gather for ourselves some kind of explanation from it to our surface mind, that it should be satisfied now. Oh, okay, now our mind will say, okay, I know what we are dealing with.
You had said it last time, but I forgot about it. So that's why I asked. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. All right. If this is it for today, then I will close with mantra. We didn't see Rashi. Rashi is here with us. I can see her name. Say hi to Rashi.
I love you, Vladimir.
No? Not showing your face?
Oh,
You
I'm
okay,
so not
Rashi?
looking good.
No?
I just came from Kashi with 3 million people. I think I'm just trying to rub off the 3 million people off me. So I had
Yeah.
never been to Kashi before. So I was totally, I don't know. I just went to some other world, it seems. So I'm just recovering from Kashi, Vladi.
A rub over 3 million people. That's quite a task.
Yeah, I mean, 3 million is a small number. Hear more have come because it's Savan, and in this month everybody comes to Kashi because this is the favorite month of Shiva when it rains, and there is no rain. It's 41 degrees Celsius. It's very hot, but it is a month of rain, so everyone's coming there, and there is no space to breathe or move or sit or anything. So Vladimir, please excuse me and pardon me for
Okay,
my
okay, no
physical
problem, no
absence.
problem. You got your initiation in Kashi, so it's fine.
But I'm all here and I'm paying a lot of attention. I missed the classes because I was there, but now I'm here. Thank you.
Lovely. We missed you also. Well, you will next time you will be recovered, so you will kind of come in
Yes.
with your bright spirit and impressions, and great. All right, I will close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari